How is it going, guys? Drew Peacock here, back with another video, and today I'm going to tell you guys 5 or 6 first cars that you absolutely should not buy under any condition. If you buy these cars, you're making a life-altering mistake. You'll probably end up homeless and your family will disown you. Do not buy these cars as your first car. Very, very bad idea. You'll see in the background, I'm driving around my K24 Turbo Honda Civic, and in my opinion, that's a great first car. If you guys want to see a list of great first cars, let me know down below. However, let's start crushing your guys' dreams and saving potential lives by having you guys avoid these cars in particular. I'm sorry if your dream car is on this list. I'm just looking out for you. I love you. Anyways, first car. Do not buy any Sylvia. Bad idea. Any S13, S14, S15. If your mommy and daddy are trying to buy it for you, don't buy them. Just don't. I'm sorry. They're great cars if you have money to fix them constantly. And just by assuming that you're a little tight on cash for your first car, it's a big purchase after all, trying to cheap out and buy a very cheap S13 or S14 is gonna leave you taking the bus. It's a Nissan. Nissans aren't the most reliable thing ever. It's not a Toyota, it's not a Honda, it's not a Lexus. It's a Nissan. As a weekend car or a track car or a drift car, 10 out of 10. Love it. Great car. Like I said, it's an amazing platform. You buy a Nissan and you turn into DK. However, you can't daily drive to school or your job in a race car. It's not ideal. Trust me, eventually it will break. So listen to me and don't cheap out and buy a cheap S13 or S14. If you have the money and you want to spend a lot of it and you want to go find a clean example that's been untouched, sure. Put it this way. If the person who owned the S13 before you doesn't have kids, then don't buy it. If they're a kid themselves, you're buying a steaming pile of shit. But if old Betty is selling her old Nissan that has 100,000 miles, well shit, go cop it. But if Hector down the road is selling his Nissan that is currently on jack stands on Facebook Marketplace, don't touch it. Don't touch it. I don't care if he's only asking $1,500. Don't touch it. Anyways, yeah, I'm sure that one right out of the gates got a lot of you typing down in the comments. It be like that. Moving on. Any NA Miata. TikTok has ruined this car for so many people. The Miata used to be like a great entry-level car, and maybe that's why a lot of TikTokers picked them up for so cheap, because it's a cheap way to make content. I mean, it's an NA Miata. It's slow. Nobody expects a Miata to be fast, so nobody's really going to build it. So all these TikTok gals picked them up, wrapped them pink, threw on some reps, and called it a day. And eventually their trend of being a car girl will end, and they'll end up on Facebook Marketplace. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's probably dirty on the inside in more ways than one. Don't touch it. You'll probably catch a disease. Don't go get an NA Miata. Not only are they ridiculously overpriced now and people are asking an arm and a leg, oh, I know what I have, bro. But they're also just not the best cars ever. By now, every bushing on that car needs to be replaced. I'm sure every seal is leaking somewhat, probably like their bowels from being the fan favorite girl at every party.
I like hanging out with guys because it's less drama.
No, you like hanging out with guys because you can get stuffed nightly. And trust me, a bunch of the stuffing probably happened in the Miata. I know it's small, but if you're horny enough, you'll make it work. So don't touch it. NA Miata, no. If you want a good Miata, go buy an NB. NB is a great generation, an overlooked generation. NC also, very overlooked, has a great chassis. And ND, if you're ballin', is a great Miata as well. They're all good Miatas. Mazda never really messed up on any of them. They're all good in their own ways. Anyways, don't touch an NA or you'll have to put ointment all over your body nightly. Anyways, next car. And this is a group of cars. Don't buy a car over 400 horsepower. Little Jimmy, you just got your license. What makes you think you're Paul Walker? You are not Paul Walker. Playing Forza does not make you Paul Walker. I don't care if you've raced in Assetto Corsa on VR. You are not Paul Walker. You do not need a 400 plus horsepower car as your first car. I don't care if you think you can handle it. Trust me, it's not a good idea. You got to learn the ropes. It's like people who go out and buy 1,000cc motorcycles as their first bike. And trust me, they're coming later on this list. It's not a good idea. You always see those clips of Mustangs spinning out. It's because they're stupid and they're young drivers. They don't know what they're doing. You guys know what my first car was? I had it for a month and then I crashed it because I wasn't paying attention on the freeway. It was a Chevy Malibu, a 2000 Chevy Malibu. And guess what I did after that? I got a V6 Mustang and I learned how to drive. I learned what traction was. I learned what a solid rear axle was. I learned about ABS. I learned about rain and spinning out and shit, because guess what? I did spin out once getting onto a freeway. And it made me realize that cars have limits. Because I was a kid, I just thought, oh, well, I could just send this thing as hard as possible. I wasn't doing that at the time, but you get what I'm saying. You got to learn in a little car, in a little slow car, before you get the fast car. I think a good first car should be something that you plan on keeping along with your next car, as if like almost a daily. You don't need a Toyota Supra, you don't need a Mustang GT, at least not a newer one. You don't need that. So don't make a dumb decision and buy something over 400 horsepower and drive like an idiot. You might think you're mature, but trust me, you're not. Next car, WRX. Don't touch them. I don't even think I really have to explain this one. They're not reliable. They're gonna have issues. Great project car, super fun car in general. But if this is your most reliable mode of transportation, you won't have a job for long. You won't have a job. I'm sorry, it's not gonna last. You're gonna call out so many days because your little car doesn't want to start, or because it keeps breaking on you, and you're gonna be tired of Ubering or taking the bus or riding your bicycle. Don't buy a Subaru, don't buy a WRX, don't buy an STI. If you find like a really low mileage clean one that some idiot doesn't know what it's worth and you somehow get it for super, maybe. Or if you're buying it from a dealership and it comes with a warranty, maybe. But again, we're talking about first cars here. You don't got that kind of cheddar. You don't got that kind of motion. It's all good. Don't worry about it. You'll eventually be able to buy one. Just don't make the dumb decision as buying it as your first and only car. Very bad idea. All right, like I mentioned a little earlier, motorcycle people, you're up. If your first mode of transportation is a motorcycle, and that's your first experience of you being on the road, probably a very bad idea. Motorcycles are dangerous, whether you like it or not. I used to ride and I stopped because I didn't want to end up in a casket. I didn't want that. I still ride every once in a while. I'll borrow Brian's bike and I'll go out and, we'll cruise PCH or whatever. And it's fun. Trust me, I love riding motorcycles. It's super fun. But the reality is, other drivers really suck at driving, and you will die at their expense. And that's not the fun part. That's not the fun part. If there were like motorcycle only roads, I don't think many accidents would happen. Like, I'm sure motorcycle idiots would ride fast and potentially, cause their own types of accidents, but you wouldn't get hit by somebody changing lanes super quick because, oh, look, my exit's here. I got to go now. Boom, you're dead. Oh, look, I'm not paying attention and I ran a red light. Boom, you're dead. I think a motorcycle of any CCs is a fun weekend vehicle. And if you're experienced, yes, you could totally daily this. Brian dailied his to the dealership, rain or shine, for many years with no issues. So I know that it's doable. You just got to be super alert, and it's definitely not something you want to ride after a long 8 to 10 hour shift and you're exhausted, especially in rush hour traffic. I live in California. I live near Los Angeles. It's the worst traffic of all time. Definitely don't want to be in that after you're exhausted and you're trying to just get home and sleep. So you can get one, but just beware. It might not even be your own fault, but little old Betty might just ruin your day for life. All right, last car in this one. It's another Nissan 350Z. Don't buy these. These have oil pressure issues. These are notoriously not super reliable. They don't have much space to begin with. They sound like dog water. They're overpriced as shit. Don't buy one. Same with G35s. Just don't. The takeover scene has really ruined like Infinitis and Nissan, sadly. They're great cars, like a rear-wheel drive, cheap, affordable, luxury coupe, aka the G35, a great car on paper. It's just destroyed the image of it by it being a takeover just drift missile. I can't even call it drifting. They just spin out. That's all they're doing. They're not drifting. They're destroyed. By now, every G35 and every 350Z has been ran through more than Mia Khalifa. They're destroyed. Their bearings are all fucking destroyed. Their bushings are all loose. I mean, you don't want this car. I know buying a G35 is appealing because they're usually so cheap, And once again, if you can find an old man who just doesn't want his anymore, because these were mostly owned by old men back when they were first bought, then, I mean, yeah, you can maybe get lucky and cop one. But if it looks modified at all, and that goes for pretty much any car on this list, probably don't touch it, because that means it was probably thrashed on pretty hard and it needs work. Anyway, hopefully this little list helps some people save some money and save some headaches and maybe save some lives. Let me know down below what your thoughts are, and if you want to see 5 cars or 6 that I recommend as a first car, then let me know. Anyways, subscribe, and until next video, peace.